All right, we are recording. So, hey guys, I'm Ariel, and we have Corey here with us. We're going to do a kind of discussion on what's been going on in the world. And Corey, so you've been working at the LGBT Center.
Again, my name is Corey. My pronouns are they and them. And I work at the LGBT Center of Raleigh. I am the Director of Education and Programs here.
Okay.
Um, I've been at the center for technically over 3 years, but
Nice.
as an employee, I've been at the center for almost 3 years. I originally started as a volunteer,
Okay.
and was a volunteer for a while at the center. And then, job popped up, and then I was the office manager for a long time, and now I'm in a more important role, I guess.
That's
um,
awesome. So what's the title? Director of.
Director of Education and Programs.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
So what does that mean?
It's a fancy title for basically saying, so we at the center, we have 30 plus programs that are
Oh.
run for, basically kind of all ages and identities.
Hmm.
So I oversee all of those programs.
Okay.
And a lot of our programs are run by volunteers. We have a couple of program coordinators that oversee like the youth programs that are pretty big. But yeah, so programs oversee everything, oversee some of the programs that happen that are just center general.
Okay.
Um, and then with education, I do a lot of trainings, speaking engagements and educational things, just kind of out in the community. Do some stuff here.
Nice.
I'm busy. I'm pretty busy.
Yeah, it's very busy. I love how many like different programs that you guys offer at the center. I think that is amazing to have that like for our community and just to get the awareness out there. I think that's like so important. And just with the pandemic right now, it feels like there's so many setbacks. I know, Pride Month and everything that's just has been kind of like put on hold or just hasn't been like our like typical celebration, I guess, out in public. Or um how has like the pandemic affected the LGBT community as like a whole, especially when you're talking about like isolation and just finding that support right now.
It's been tough. I mean,
um,
for us, like at the center, we're trying to hold as much as we can on a virtual platform.
okay, good.
It doesn't really give the same feel in some
I
way.
know.
I think like, some of our youth programs are like thriving right now because they're all about like,
Good.
technology, but some of
Yeah,
the other things, like especially our LGBTQ seniors, we're trying to find creative ways to connect with them and to make sure that they're getting the support they need.
that's
Um,
good.
yeah, like the transgender community, we need to make sure that like, they
Hmm.
have the resources that, like whether it's, medical resources. I know that a lot of people are dealing,
Hmm.
obviously everybody in the world right now is
Hmm.
dealing with unemployment.
Yeah,
Um, so making sure that we're helping the most marginalized, parts of our community,
that's
win the fight.
good.
So it's not
Yeah.
been easy, but just
Uh, I
yeah.
know. Yeah, I can't even imagine just like, especially with, the LGBT community, like if the students are, back home, even like if they were like in college and they're coming back home, if their parents aren't supportive or their environment that they live in is not supportive, um, do you have advice for them, or how have you been able to kind of support those students?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, a couple of the youth that we know of, that that there's a number of things that are happening there. I mean, whether it's
Yeah.
just that they're not completely supportive, but they're trying, but it's hard to be in an environment, well, especially for our trans youth where, they're not necessarily using the right names or the right pronouns. So that's been hard.
Yeah.
So I mean, some of the things that I've said is just try to connect with your community as much as you can.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that it is hard, especially if you can't necessarily leave your house, to get onto a computer, but there's a lot of different platforms, if you can't do like video calls and stuff like that.
Sure.
There's like texting programs, there's
Okay.
different different organizations that are doing things through other means to make sure
Mm-hmm.
that everybody has a chance to be able to you know kind of find that support and be with their peers and be in their community whenever they need it.
That's so good.
You don't want to like completely take that away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, for
Yeah.
sure. It's interesting how this like virtual, world is it just, I don't know, it's changing everything. And I mean, like, look at us, we're having to connect this way. And I mean, it's good and bad, but I almost like miss that like physical touch. Like you can't even like hug someone or give them a handshake. And it's just, I'm sure it's just super tough for like everyone right now, and I just kind of miss that connection with people.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
glad you guys are offering a variety of different things, for students, especially right now, not really being able to have that element to like get out of the house and
Yeah.
have I guess other things to keep them busy with.
Right. Yeah. No, definitely. Yep.
Yeah. Um, and I'm a huge advocate for, mental health. And there's, like still like that stigma with mental health, unfortunately. How has that like impacted the LGBT community? You know?
Um, you know, I know that it's interesting. It's interesting then to
Mhm.
see some of the people that are coming out that are like, this is a really good opportunity for me to be able to just slow down. But then it kind of
Mhm.
got to the point where it's like people are just so unsure right now of well, what is going to happen and the uncertainty, especially with people in the LGBTQ community of just like, am I going to be able to keep my employment? I know that there's, certain things, good things happening, in legislation, which,
Sure.
are wonderful, saying that like we're we're being supported in some ways, but at the same time, like pandemics aren't, a common
Mhm.
thing. So like,
No, it's like, how do
people
you prepare for that?
exactly, yeah. So like,
Yeah.
am I going to be able to, continue supporting myself? Like,
Mhm.
I don't, there's a lot of people that don't necessarily have other, systems of support because they're part of the LGBTQ community.
Yeah.
Um, the transgender community is there. Yeah, everyone right now that's had, not everyone, but a lot of people right now that, had
Mhm.
surgeries booked, gender affirming surgeries, or like, you know, either have gotten canceled or postponed, or they don't really know when it's going to happen. And so like that's just been really really tough to get through. So I know that there's
Sure.
making sure that people are getting some sort of support, or at least having some sort of outlet
Mhm.
to talk about it.
Yeah.
um, and it's not been the greatest, and I think it's because that level of an uncertainty.
I know.
But I think because of this though, there's a lot of people that have come through that have said like, look, let me be that person, that system of support for you, let me
Yeah.
and which is good. So I think that there's a couple things happening,
Mhm.
both good and bad, but mental health, I feel in general, has not been the greatest with the
I
LGBTQ community.
know.
It's definitely not making it any better. So
No, exactly. It's just nobody really wants to have that conversation, and then just add on top of everything else. It's just
mhm.
makes it such a huge struggle. You mentioned that they're kind of afraid of losing their job. Do you feel like there's discrimination that's kind of attached to that?
Well, I think that first and foremost, I feel like LGBTQ people already feel like that level of, kind of like, I don't really know. I'm in this position. I don't know how friendly they will be to me if I come out,
Mhm.
this and that.
Sure.
So, and I feel like everybody's, at some time thinking if they start letting people go, they're probably going to let me go first because,
Um,
you know,
sure.
um, and even though, now we have technically federal protections in some ways,
Mhm.
um, this is a right to work state in North Carolina.
Mhm.
So like
Yeah.
you could still
Percent
technically use the
loan.
job for anything, and
Yeah.
so I think that that's scary because there's so many different layers of things happening where
Mhm.
we already have issues, getting healthcare, getting proper healthcare.
Mhm.
We have issues with discrimination, harassment. So, making sure that we're getting, some sort of um, income on top of all
Yeah.
that to make sure, we could support ourselves. Like there's
Yeah.
a lot.
But
There's a
there's so
lot.
many different like levels, it seems like, from the financial standpoint, and then I hate to say it, but we don't have the greatest mental health system,
Yeah.
and there's so many different, setbacks in that. And it's just, I can't even imagine like living in that fear of not only the pandemic, but then, okay, I might lose my job because of, who I am. I mean, it's just so, it breaks my heart for sure. Um, but I'm glad that you guys are offering, that support and that there's such a strong support system, with you guys, with LGBT Center and, other community partners too.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, that's good. I had a couple other questions for you. I was going to ask you, you know, we've been talking a lot about like some of the negative stuff, but what some of the progress that has been made with the LGBT community?
Yeah. I mean, just in general, I think that, like I had already mentioned about the Supreme Court ruling currently about LGBTQ workers' rights and protections there. That's been great to hear. Like that was a historic movement. That's just such a big moment, I think, for people.
Mm-hmm.
I know that with that comes, more negative, obviously
Sure.
coming from the administration, but
Yeah.
it's there's those things. I mean, just I know that at least for the last couple of years, in North Carolina, the governors made a proclamation for Pride Month. So at least having that, recognition has been really great.
Mm-hmm. Good.
And just seeing the number of people that have kind of come forward to say, like, let me make sure that you're supported because we know that you're a vital part of the community,
That's
has been
good.
wonderful. Um, and I think that sometimes whenever we take a step forward, we always feel like we take a couple steps back, but
Mm-hmm.
being able to celebrate and to recognize those steps forward is
For sure.
so
Yeah.
even very little things like
Yeah.
a company coming out with a statement. I mean, obviously actions speak louder than words, but it still is
Mm-hmm.
people recognizing that the community is here and
Yeah.
so
That's so true. It's funny, I actually wrote a post about like setbacks, and that's how I felt the other day with, just some other like personal stuff. And I'm like, gosh, like I take like a giant like leap of faith forward, and then I feel like, just everything just gets, set back or something, and then you're like, you're 3 steps behind you. So, but I think it's good to, like you said, like, celebrate those, small, even if it's a small step. And
absolutely.
then, yeah, and that really kind of like carries that hope, forward. So,
Right.
yeah, that's really good. Um, and then something too, I was like wondering too, like what would be like your advice, if someone is questioning their sexuality, what advice would you give to them, especially right now, like, they can't really come to the center and talk to anybody, but what would your advice be to them?
Um, I mean, I know talking from a personal standpoint, when I started thinking about my own story and, when I think back on it now, like,
Hmm.
you know, just listen to yourself. You know yourself the best.
Hmm.
Um, and try to find ways to connect with your community.
Yeah.
Even if it's something where you're just like, I really don't know what this means. I don't really know how
Hmm.
I'm feeling. Um, because connecting with the people that you know might not necessarily already know themselves completely, but
Hmm.
like are out and showing it, and
Sure.
are okay, talking through that process. um,
Yeah.
Being able to talk with somebody that's kind of already in that mindset, like
Hmm.
it means it helps so much in so
Sure.
many.
Yeah.
um, like I was very young whenever I started figuring out my sexuality, and then I know
Hmm.
20 something years later I finally started figuring out my my gender identity. So it's just
That's
like,
awesome.
yeah, but like I don't think that I would have really, I don't think I would be here in the place that I am in, the more confident mindset. I don't want to ever say that I'm like
Hmm.
100% amazing, like really
That's
great.
okay. Own it. Own that confidence.
But I don't think I would be really here if I didn't necessarily
Yeah.
take that first step into getting connected with the LGBTQ community here,
Yeah.
and like being able to kind of start pushing myself to, and I know that is a lot harder,
Sure.
to do, especially right now, but take the time to just like look things up and to find,
Hmm.
talk to people. And if you have, if therapy is it's accessible to you, or support groups are accessible to
Hmm.
you, please utilize those,
For
because
sure.
I mean that helps so much, because your mind
Hmm.
is tangled up in what society has said is right and wrong, and you just
Exactly.
be able to kind of
Yeah.
figure that out. So
And you mentioned, like, just be true to yourself, but when you're hearing so much negativity and, maybe you were brought up religious, or, your whole family or environment is like, no, like that's this or that. I mean, you're like, wait a minute, like, I don't know how I feel, because there's like so much like jungled up, beliefs in my head. So I think that is true, to like either talk to like a therapist or have a support team where you can like bounce off those, questions, and just have more of like a sound, um, you know, sound mind, and then also get the right feedback too.
right, right,
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. No, that's good. It's like having that connection for sure. Um, and then there's still that discrimination, against the LGBT community. Uh, do you think there's like, what would you think is like the number one thing that would help create like unity right now? I'm only allowing you to say one thing. That's tough. I
um,
know.
well, something that I have seen a lot, because right now, like the Black Lives Matters movement is, in full
Hmm.
force, and it's amazing to see the people that have come together. I think what's really important is to kind of take from that and to see that we are all humans,
Yeah.
and we, in order to be able to get to a place, where we're more affirmed and we're more accepted, like we really have to
Hmm.
work together.
Yeah.
um, and I know that it's hard to sometimes put aside some of those things that just are in your mind, or like the concerns and
Hmm.
the even the prejudices within the community,
Hmm.
like just realize that we are all trying to fight for some of the same things.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, be able to just come together, work together like that. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah, no, it is. And, you know, when I was downtown Raleigh, like, you know, seeing, you know, a group of people coming together and like protesting and just coming together, I think that's, you know, it's awesome to see that. And if we can just do that with all of us as a whole, you know, how much more like empowered we could
Oh
be,
yeah.
you know. So yeah, I think that is, you know, really good, good one thing to
Yeah.
yeah, to try to come together for sure.
Yeah.
And then lastly, you know, the viewers watching, um, how could, you know, they get a hold of like the LGBT Center, and like what other, I guess, advice do you have for them right now, getting connected? Obviously, like they can find you on Instagram and Facebook. Any other tips on staying connected?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we are trying our best, especially now with things so digital and so virtual,
Hmm.
trying our best to put information out there for not just what we're doing as a center, but also just what's happening in the community, what might be happening in
Hmm.
the world. So, you know, connecting, you know, on different social media platforms. You know,
Yeah.
don't be afraid to reach out to anybody that's on staff, like myself. You know, my email
Hmm.
um, is on the center website, so
Hmm.
that's a really good, you know, place to go to as well.
Okay.
Um, and then, you know, hopefully once we are able to kind of start doing things in person again,
Hmm.
you know, we're here, we're open, we're for the community, and we absolutely, you know, would love to welcome you with open arms.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah. Well, I hope everyone goes to LGBT Center. It's really easy to find on Instagram and then Facebook. And I'm sure you're on Twitter and all the other social media. Do you guys have like a TikTok or?
I don't think we actually do have one. Maybe that's a
That's
good idea.
probably like coming very soon. I know all
Yeah.
my friends are trying to get me to have one. I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready for that.
It's a lot of things that you have to, like, you know, keep
So many
track.
different like, yeah, platforms to update. I'm like, okay, did I put it on Facebook yet? All right, no, it's like just too much for sure. So but thanks for taking the time to meet with me, and we'll talk again soon.
Sounds good.
All right.